Assalamu alaikum students. Today we are going to start a new and very interesting chapter which is biochemistry. As you know, biochemistry is the branch of chemistry that deals with the study of different reactions taking place in living organisms. Biochemistry deals with the naturally occurring macromolecules such as carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, vitamins, etc. These macromolecules are synthesized by living organisms from simple molecules. Macromolecules are essential, very important, as they are a rich source of energy, and secondly, they keep us strong and healthy. And today we are going to discuss carbohydrates in detail. Let's see what are carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are macromolecules defined as polyhydroxyaldehydes or ketones. Macromolecules are large molecules which are linked with each other through covalent bonds. And polyhydroxy means when a molecule contains two or more hydroxyl groups, OH groups, known as polyhydroxy. Polyhydroxyaldehydes or ketones are known as carbohydrates. Here is the general formula for aldehydes and ketones which you have studied previously in chapter number 11 in functional group. Now the general formula of carbohydrates is CnH2O whole n. This n number varies for different carbohydrates. Now how these carbohydrates are synthesized? They are synthesized by a process of photosynthesis in plants. Photosynthesis is the process in which carbon dioxide reacts with water in the presence of sunlight and a green pigment, chlorophyll, and form glucose and oxygen. This glucose is the basic unit of carbohydrates. This basic unit of glucose, it polymerizes to form starch and cellulose. Polymerization is the process in which smaller units they combine to form larger units known as polymers. Those smaller units or single unit is known as monomer, and here glucose is monomer. Glucose polymerizes to form starch and cellulose. Now how carbohydrates are classified? They are classified into three main groups: monosaccharides, oligosaccharides, and polysaccharides. Now let's study about monosaccharides. Monosaccharides are simplest sugars which cannot be hydrolyzed, means they cannot be broken down by chemical reaction with water. Some reactions are there in which molecule react with water and breaks down. But here in case of monosaccharides, they cannot be hydrolyzed. Monosaccharides have 3 to 9 carbon atoms, and according to this number of carbon atoms, they are classified as trioses, tetroses, pentoses, and hexoses, etc. 3 carbon atom compound is known as triose, 4 carbon atom compound is called as tetrose, and so on. Most important monosaccharides are hexoses, and here are examples of hexoses: glucose and fructose. Here is the molecular formula for glucose and fructose, which is C6H12O6, and here is the structural formula for glucose and fructose. Means they have same molecular formula but differ in their structural formula. Glucose is pentahydroxyaldehyde. You can see here functional group CHO, means aldehyde group is present here. And in case of fructose, it is pentahydroxyketone. Here is the functional group of ketone CO, and on both sides R groups are attached. So fructose is a pentahydroxyketone and glucose is a pentahydroxyaldehyde. Now are the properties of monosaccharides. Monosaccharides are white crystalline solids. They are soluble in water. They are sweet in taste and they cannot be hydrolyzed, they cannot be broken down, and they are reducing in nature. Reducing means they can lose or they can donate its electron to any oxidizing agent. They are reducing in nature, so they are also known as reducing sugars. Next are oligosaccharides. Oligosaccharides give 2 to 9 units of monosaccharides on hydrolysis, means oligosaccharides can react with water and they can produce 2 to 9 units of monosaccharides, and on this basis they are classified as disaccharides, trisaccharides, tetrasaccharides, and so on, depending upon number of units they produce. For example, if on hydrolysis they produce 2 units of monosaccharides, they are called disaccharides. 3 units of monosaccharides called as trisaccharides, and so on. The most important oligosaccharides are disaccharides, and most common example of these disaccharide is sucrose. Sucrose is table sugar which we use in our daily life. When this sucrose is hydrolyzed, when it reacts with water in the presence of dilute HCl and heat, glucose and fructose is produced. Glucose and fructose have same molecular formula but different structural formulas. Now are the properties of oligosaccharides. Oligosaccharides are white crystalline solids. They are soluble in water. They are sweet in taste and they may be reducing or non-reducing in nature. Last type of carbohydrates are polysaccharides. Polysaccharides are macromolecular carbohydrates consisting of hundreds to thousands of monosaccharides. The most common examples of polysaccharides are starch and cellulose. Starch is found in potatoes, beans, rice and grains, etc. Starch is a complex carbohydrate. It has a molecular formula C6H10O5 whole N. This N number may vary up to hundreds. Next is cellulose. Cellulose is found in plant cell walls. It helps plant to remain stiff and strong. Human beings cannot digest cellulose. It also has same molecular formula as starch C6H10O5 whole N, and this N number it varies according to different compounds. Now are the properties of polysaccharides. Polysaccharides are amorphous solids. They are tasteless, means they have no taste. They are insoluble in water, and last, they are non-reducing in nature. Now you will see a video which will further explains all these types of carbohydrates.
Carbohydrates are biomolecules that are composed of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen atoms in the ratio of 1 to 2 to 1. We can represent the proportion of these elements within carbohydrate molecules with the formula CH2O. Most carbohydrates are characterized as either monosaccharides, disaccharides, or polysaccharides. The term saccharide is just another word for sugar. The prefixes mono, di, and poly refer to the number of sugars in the molecule. Mono means one, so a monosaccharide is a carbohydrate made of 1 unit of sugar. The prefix di means 2, so a disaccharide is a carbohydrate made of 2 units of sugar. And poly means many, so a polysaccharide is made of many sugar units bonded together. Let's talk about monosaccharides first. Monosaccharides are the building blocks, or monomers, of all carbohydrates. Common monosaccharides include glucose, fructose, and galactose. Glucose is by far the most abundant monosaccharide. It's water-soluble, easily transported through an organism, and is the energy source for cellular respiration and the production of ATP. Fructose is the primary monosaccharide found in fruits and plants, and galactose is the primary monosaccharide found in milk. All of these monosaccharides are 6 carbon sugars with the chemical formula C6H12O6. They can be depicted chemically as either straight chains or rings. Disaccharides are formed when monosaccharides are joined together through dehydration reactions, forming what are called glycosidic linkages. Common disaccharides include maltose, which is made up of 2 glucose molecules, sucrose, also known as table sugar, which is made up of glucose and fructose, and lactose, or milk sugar, which contains glucose and galactose. Polysaccharides are formed when glucose monomers link together to form long chains. These long chains of glucose units are ideal for storing energy. The chains can be straight or branched. Plants store energy in the form of amylose, which has straight chains, or amylopectin, which is branched. Animals differ from plants in that they store energy in the form of glycogen, which is a highly branched polysaccharide that can be broken down quickly to supply energy to tissues. Other polysaccharides, such as cellulose, chitin, and peptidoglycan, serve as structural molecules in organisms. The most abundant polysaccharide is cellulose. Cellulose is a straight-chain polymer of glucose, like amylose, but it differs in the configuration of the bonds between the glucose units. Most organisms are unable to break these bonds and cannot use cellulose as a source of energy. Instead, cellulose is used to add strength to plant cell walls. Chitin is a structural polysaccharide found in animals and fungi. It makes up the exoskeleton of insects and crustaceans. Its unique properties are a result of chitin having amino groups attached to its sugar monomers. Peptidoglycans are complex polysaccharides found in the cell walls of bacteria. The macromolecule is both flexible and rugged due to its structure. Each monomer of the polysaccharide has a peptide chain attached to it. Often, we refer to carbohydrates as being either simple sugars or complex carbohydrates. Monosaccharides and disaccharides are commonly referred to as simple sugars. The term complex carbohydrates refers to the polysaccharides.